Hey guys, it's God's Comic Brad Stine, and let me ask you a question. Have you ever heard the phrase organized religion as a bad thing? Did you think it was bad to be organized? What does it even mean to be organized religion? Comment down below. This is going to be a really interesting conversation. I know so. You know why? I organized it. Hey folks, have you noticed the amount of people on the earth that find it easier to espouse a point of view on social media, generally one not originating from them, and then pat themselves on the back under the delusion they've done something significant? It is way too easy nowadays to get lazy with your insight than to actually have to do the difficult work of thoroughly contemplating an idea, researching to evaluate its truth, and then risking the wrath of those who oppose you by putting it out into the atmosphere and let it speak for itself. I call this bumper sticker philosophy, which usually has a ring to it, but often is lacking depth of any kind. Let me give you an example of an oft-quoted line that sounds good to the uninitiated at face value, but with just a cursory examination, one can discover how meaningless it actually is. That term is, I hate organized religion. One of the techniques I've taught you over the years, and Brad Stine has issues, is simple but imperative in just about every encounter you face with conflicting point of view. Always ask people to define their terms. You've heard it from me a million times. For example, if someone says to you, I hate organized religion, just ask them to define what does organized religion mean. Can you give me an example, please? Because we've learned to interpret the phrase organized religion to mean, by definition, to be intrinsically malevolent. So what is the idea that disqualifies it as having any redeeming qualities exactly? What is your complaint? That it is religious or that it is organized? Have you ever taken 2 seconds to evaluate how lazy and incomprehensible that phrase actually is? And if not, let me ask you a question. In what other context would the adjective organized mean something is automatically bad? Let's use it in other categories and see if it fits. I hate organized restaurants. What with their pre-printed menus automatically telling me what I can and cannot eat from their establishment. What's that all about? I walk into a Denny's and ask for fresh Maine lobster and some Russian caviar, and they have the audacity to direct me to the Grand Slam breakfast as an alternative? Who do they think they are, creating a business, setting the perimeters for how it will function? And then when I come in to partake of their wares, they don't adjust, compromise, and completely redo their options just to appease me. What kind of closed-minded bigots are these people? Also, by limiting their menu to what they like to prepare and make available, they're blatantly announcing to any patron that would have the temerity to utilize their services that this establishment is unabashedly closed-minded, bigoted, and arbitrariophobic. How about if we find another area to despise organization? I hate organized science. These lunatics that keep their electron microscopes plugged in and constantly adjusted in order to allow them to function to their highest capacity. What is a bunch of rubes they are? What is it about these fanatics that do experiments in petri dishes and then go ahead and label each dish in order to reference what exactly they're observing and keeping track of any changes to the experiment that might bring clarity? No wonder no one trusts science anymore. It's filled with maniacs whose only objective is to gain power by publishing their findings in order to try and better the world through their conclusions. Haven't we moved on from these archaic fanatics that think by observing nature and drawing conclusions we somehow owe them our allegiance and respect? And they announce that if we don't believe in their observations and scientific proofs, we are blind and backwards. Dang, is there anything more egotistical and arrogant as organized science? Actually, science might be the best example of examining the phenomenon of organized label being suspect. Why? Because if you ever take time to get a background check on the people that tout the "I hate organized religion" mantra, what you will inevitably discover is they don't actually hate organized religion at all. They actually hate religion. But by adding the organized word, it gives them a pass from being exposed as either a shallow view of religion as a whole or simply a moniker that allows their bigotry to claim some sense of respectability without having to prove their aversion to it as warranted. So, since they always seem to be unwilling to justify their prejudice towards religion, and what is it about that they find so destructive? Allow me to permit myself to do the analysis for them. Usually, the one thing that is mentioned within the context of where they find religion deleterious is that, and I quote, "it was designed to control the people by exerting power over them." Religion is just a way for the elite to control and manipulate the common man to do their bidding. Sounds like a rather nefarious system at that, but by implication, it ignores the elephant in the room. One, it isn't an original thought, as it echoes the foolish and absurd conclusion Marx reached years ago when he said the history of the human race has always been a class struggle for power. Very simplistic contention that equated those who own property and businesses as simply intrinsically evil people who exploited their workers by forcing them to exert their labor, all for the unfair distribution of profit, the lion's share going to the owner and the crumbs handed to the proletariat doing all the hard work. But the perpetual failure of Marxism in every society it ever was tried is not the scope of this particular episode. I just wanted to show you how often uninspired and derivative the anti-religious usually are in espousing their prejudice as though it is insightful or, better yet, some kind of revelation only they have the insight to grasp. Sounds rather elitist and power-driven, doesn't it? Apparently, they consider themselves in a class all by themselves. See, ultimately, that is the premise. I'm exposing anyone and everyone that believes they have an insight, a perspective, and a collected aggregate of information, evidence, or presuppositional philosophy that grasps and understands a concept better than those that disagree with him, are essentially exhibiting power over you. If you don't see the world the way they do, if you don't agree and acknowledge their perspective and conclusion, you are beneath them. You are always backwards, stupid, foolish, unable to grasp their intellect. And your only hope for salvation is to either submit to their perspective or be forever cast aside as part of the ignorant class that need to be ignored, mocked, ridiculed, and discarded because you're in the way of the evolutionary advancement that only the neo-Darwinists possess. You see, the haters of organized religion are committed to organized materialism. They have dedicated their lives to the proposition that matter and energy and time is all there is. Science is the ultimate arbiter of truth. Neo-Darwinism is the answer to the question, what is the meaning of life? What is the conclusion Darwinists have reached to the meaning of life, by the way? It's simple. Life has no ultimate meaning. We're simply here for a minute, die, and that's that. This is the conclusion all materialists have reached, and they organize their conclusion into books, research papers, and lectures to the masses. Their purpose in distributing the religion of purposelessness is to replace the insight that religion gave humanity in grasping the importance and reality of the transcendent, thus allowing teleology to enter the human experience and allow for us to grow our insight and pass on value to the next generation, and instead propose that the only real understanding of what makes humans unique and important is the fact that we alone have reached a place in the universe to be able to understand and communicate to those that come after us that there is nothing to see here. Everything we have discovered is an illusion of meaning, and the only true meaning to the universe is that the universe is meaningless. This isn't hyperbole or even an ad hominem attack or insult of organized science. This is literally the conclusion that the best and brightest of organized science has given us. Life has no ultimate meaning, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with a religion of science view that nihilism is the only philosophy that we can depend on to continue to drive forward towards a better tomorrow. You don't even have to think anymore, since it gets you nowhere ultimately. Let a scientist do all the thinking for you. If a virus hits, for example, that could cause some damage to some humans, we'll shut down the economy. We will destroy your business and ability to provide for your family. We will steal your dignity, all the while getting paid ourselves from the taxes we demand you continue to pay while you don't work. We will convince you to wear masks everywhere you go, though we never did that before in response to a virus with a 99% survival rate. But hey, don't question organized science, since we're the good guys. How can you tell us apart from the bad guys? Easy. We're the ones not wearing the masks we demanded of you. Well, other than for a photo op, that is. We understand that the data has shown the states with the most stringent lockdowns and mask mandates actually had the worst cases of COVID, but I don't let the data and reality get in the way of trusting us for your well-being. Remember, we're organized science. We'll take power over you for your own good. All those churches and their organized religions that are trying to open up and provide you some hope and comfort and solidarity and healing and relationship and community and salvation, fear them! They, with their organized food banks that have helped feed the hungry for millennia, long before organized government got involved. They, with their organized homeless shelters, educational programs to get these people back on their feet, and their organized health clinics to help support pregnant women who want to bring their babies into the world but will need assistance in doing so. See what happens when organized religion sticks its creepy fingers into the lives of women in need? Holy smoke. Organized science has long answered the solution to pregnancy. Kill the child and go back to your lifestyle of poor decisions and behaviors. We're organized science. We won't judge you. Just pay us to think for you and remove all stigmas from society. Last thing I think a civil society needs is the virtue of its citizens. Need vaccine? We got it. Need a new human race? We're here for you. Need someone smarter, stronger, more important than you to run your life for you? Make your decisions and steal your liberty, all the while telling you how much you need to trust us? I mean, we can't control you if you don't willingly give us your autonomy, thoughts, and dreams. Remember the simple phrase, organized religion is bad. Organized science, organized governments is good. How to tell the difference? If we self-appointed elite put organized in front of it, it is automatically good. Make sense? If not, hang on. We will make it make sense to you one way or the other. Got it? We're going to force you to get organized. This is God's Comic, Brad Stine, folks. I think you should be figuring this out by now. PC free is liberty. You want some? Join the movement. Hey, all my friends and fans, this is God's Comic, Brad Stine. I want to say thank you for being one of my Patreon missionaries to support this ministry. You know, I have been trying to use comedy and intellect and intelligence and philosophy to reach American culture, well, the whole world, but I'm really focused on America. You're part of that. You're part of what I call the Awakened 1,000, and that is the first 1,000 people that support this ministry on a small scale can keep it going day after day, week after week. So there's some free episodes out there. If you would do me a favor, share those with your friends, your family. And again, thank you for being already part of this. We are going to make a difference. It's already happening. We can take back our place at the table of ideas in America if we believe God is with us, on our side, and we do our part. I'll be here. I'll be the funny. I'll take the hits. If you just support me financially, of course, but also with your prayers and sharing it with other people. Let's see what we can do while the getting's good.